Welcome back to another Agency Connect. I'm Sunir, CEO of Ep.9 and president of the Cloud Software Association. Here we talk about how agencies get the digital under control, so you can get the agency under control. A very difficult topic in the 21st century, surprisingly. I'm on with Duane Brown, a fellow Torontonian. You're down in Little Portugal, which is where I still live. Nice to have you. You're from Take Some Risk. Tell us about yourself, Duane.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for about 16 years now, but I actually went to school for PR, and then I realized I didn't want to write press releases for the rest of my life. And I'm an okay writer, but I'm not like write press releases the rest of my life kind of writer. And someone took a chance on me and gave me a job in advertising and actually doing basically like lead gen for recruitment. So like, BlackBerry, H&M when they came to Canada, CIBC, lots of businesses would hire us to run paid ads to get them like, retail staff, hardware, software engineers, doctors, lawyers, people to work in a bakery and stuff like that. And I found out I was really good at it and I loved it. I never looked back. And, I've lived around the world, Australia, UK, both sides of Canada and Montreal and Vancouver. And now I'm back home in Toronto. We work with mostly e-commerce and D2C brands. And it's been obviously a crazy couple of years with just the pandemic and everybody, realizing that, hey, I can shop online and this experience isn't as bad as I thought, or no one's going to steal my credit card as often as I thought. So it's been a whirlwind 2 years. And, I don't know what 2022 is going to hold, but I'm sure it's not going to disappoint.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what Take Some Risk does? Like you're obviously not doing PR anymore, but what do you
No,
guys do?
no. Yeah, so our main focus is, pay for performance or PPC ads or paid ads. It goes by many different names. So, a lot of our clients come to us and they want to sell their product. And we use everything from Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Google ads, Microsoft ads to manage their ads for them and drive people to the website to purchase what the product is. We have clients that sell everything from cell phone cases and scented candles to high-end mountain bikes and athleisure wear and sweats and pajamas and everything in between. And whether it's in North America or UK, Europe, or APAC, our goal is to find like the right customers to buy that product. Because often, our businesses aren't Amazon, right? They can't afford to give away free shipping. So we're figuring out how to target the right customer to convince them to pay full price. Then in more cases, pay for shipping if they don't meet the free shipping threshold. So it's an interesting challenge where lots of people will do lots of discounting to drive sales, or they'll give everything away for free with free shipping. Small businesses just can't afford to do that. And so it's a daily operation out there just to drive sales at full price and make people pay for shipping.
And we were talking about this yesterday. One of the most interesting things, and what probably will come over the next 5 years, is there's a history and cycle to retail where you aggregate. You go from you start with individual stores and you aggregate. So you have Main Street got aggregated into malls, and then you have aggregated into boutique stores, and then into department stores, and then aggregated again into big box stores, and now to Amazon is a big aggregator. But now everyone's going to go back to small brands again as people hopefully get richer again. They want a more custom experience, and that's where you come in, right? You're somehow not just doing basic ads, you're doing like high value brand like strategy with the ad campaigns. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we're trying to convince people both to like shop with us versus, the Amazons or the big brands. And I think what's interesting about Amazon is, they opened like a clothing store and they opened those bookstores, even though they just shut them all the bookstores, but they opened all their convenience stores. And so even though Amazon like killed all of Main Street, now they're trying to like open their own stores and become Main Street. And then even this morning, which isn't e-commerce, but like Uber's now made a partnership in New York with the taxi companies. And so in the app, you can order taxis. So it's like the Batman quote, like you either die the hero, you live long enough to become the villain. And so like Uber's become the very thing they hate. And I'm just like, this is ironic to say the least. So we're really working with like SMB businesses, anywhere from like, they're making $500,000, $1 million a year when they come to us, all the way up to, clients are in the, mid 8-figure ranges. And they're just figuring out how do we just sell more of this product to more people around the world. And, some of our clients got lots of money. Some of our clients don't have lots of money, but they all have the same goal of, really building a profitable business. And what makes us different than a lot of other agencies is, we're not just running ads, which is like the center of our business. We're also thinking about how do they build like a stronger business, whether it's, our clients not thinking enough about like SEO or PR, influencer marketing. And even though we don't handle a lot of those things, we want to nudge them in the right direction to think about those things so that if, Facebook dies tomorrow or Google dies tomorrow, they don't lose a large chunk of their business, right? Because that keeps people up at night is what happens when Facebook doesn't exist anymore. And even though people have been talking about getting off Facebook the last 2 years, so many people have not done it because it's just easier to keep on being on Facebook versus the struggle of trying to figure out another platform out there. So we bring a really strong strategic mind to what we do with clients and help them think about like, how do I build a better business, which is a lot different than just like running ad accounts.
So one thing, there's lots of different agency models. So this podcast, I'm trying to get down to, and I'm really, over the last few episodes, maybe people have watched me figure this out. But like what I really want to think about this year is the agencies are, for whatever reason, I mean, I have an opinion on this in the subscription era, have got back to the labor treadmill where they're just selling labor for money, and then you end up in the scalability trap where the
Mhm.
more revenue you make, the more people you need to have, which means you have a bigger liability next month. So you need to go sell more clients, and then you're
Mhm.
basically always running on a treadmill, never really getting anywhere. But you've figured something out. So let's talk a little bit about your basic commercials. Like how many staff do you have?
Yeah, so we're a team of six, mostly based in Canada. We have a team member in Asia, though. We have a team member based in South America. And it wasn't planned to hire outside of Canada, but we're trying to hire the best people possible. And whether you love or hate remote work, I think there's value in remote work. There's value in not remote work, depending on what your company is. But what makes us
You're a
different
digital
is,
nomad. You must love remote work. I mean, you've been everywhere yourself, right? So
I do and I don't. I mean, I love it, in short bursts, but I won't want to live on the road all the time,
yeah,
right? I think living on the road all the time is very exhausting, where every 2 months, 3 months, every month you're moving to a new place. I love that my home base in this case is in Toronto, or was Montreal, or was Vancouver. And I love to travel. I've been to 40 countries, but I don't want to be on the road constantly because that is exhausting.
yeah, fair enough. Okay, so you have six staff, and then but you don't have like that many clients. You have like a how many clients do you have?
Yeah, I mean, at any given time, we have somewhere probably between 12 and 15 clients, just depending on like the needs of each client and making sure we can service each client effectively. Because we're not selling time, right? I think the trap is that lots of agencies think they have to sell time, and
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of ways, obviously, to sell your services. There are those agencies who sell time, which is very much how agencies have always worked, and it's very much how still a lot of dev agencies work. You could sell some sort of project rate, which is very popular among people. And then we've kind of tried to do like a mixed model. Lots of agencies will just do a percent of spend. We've tried to look at it. There's two jobs we're doing here. There's job one, which was thinking about what we're going to do, so strategy stuff. You need to think about what you're doing, not just do things. And the other part of our job is actually running the campaigns. And so we charge every client a monthly strategy fee, and we charge a client a percent of spend, because these are the two different jobs we're being hired to do. Oftentimes brands will come to us and say, "Oh, we just want you to like run the campaigns. We'll do all the strategy," but like people who do the strategy but don't know how to run the ad accounts don't know how to do the strategy for ad accounts, right? It's very different than business strategy or maybe even marketing strategy, because you're thinking about how to pull the right levers in the ad account and how that impacts the business. And so it's hard to like get someone who doesn't know what they're doing to run the strategy. It's like me trying to run strategy for like an engineering team. I ain't no engineer, and so I don't know how to organize that team to tell them what to do. So we just don't sell time because it doesn't make sense as a business model. It's also the worst way to make money as an agency, like hands down. Clients love it because it's the cheapest way to pay. It's the worst thing for an agency, and clients don't care how long something actually takes. They just want the outcome. So let's just sell the outcome at the end of the day and find clients who care about that versus how long it took me, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, to do the job that's going to make you $1 million.
I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, you had a great line pre-interview. If you're staying up at night thinking of ads, you were doing something wrong. That's what you were saying to client. But that's the promise, right? Isn't it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's why you're hiring someone, right? You're hiring someone to take something off your plate so you don't have to think about it as much. Yes, you're going to think about it at some point. That's just normal. It's part of your business, but you shouldn't be thinking about it 24/7 all the time. And so we often tell clients, is running ads the best thing you can do with your time? If it is, don't hire us, don't hire anyone, keep on doing it. If it's not, hire someone else to do that job so you can think about other things. The same thing with email. We convince a client to hire someone to do email because it isn't the best use of their time. Yes, they can do it, but if you're up all the time until midnight and you've got like 5 kids or 2 kids or 3 kids and a husband or whatever, or a partner, you don't really have time to do all those jobs effectively. You have to give up some control and trust some people to do the job you've hired them to do, to get it done, to take it off your plate. And so, yeah, we're promising sort of peace of mind, less stress, and we're really good at what we do. Like, we don't do a million things. We're not a full service agency. We really focus on paid and then like strategy and email marketing to just help clients take things to the next level.
so you mentioned you have a split fee structure. You have like a retainer and then a percentage. Like roughly speaking, is it half, a third, two thirds is the retainer, is your revenue, and the other part is percentages? Like, how does it break down?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it varies. Our base retainer is $1,500 a month. I know some agencies who will do 500 a month. Some will do £1,000, like a friend in the UK. Some will try to do more, and it obviously depends on like what level of services client has. If client also hires us to do like email marketing and CRO stuff, then our retainer is going to be a little bit higher because those things are flat fees. And then after that, it's usually just a 10% of the spend. If a client's spending, 150, $200,000 a month, we'll do like 9% of spend. But I think one thing clients don't always realize is, yes, it's hard to get from spending no money online to spending $10,000 a month online a month. But to spend $10,000 a month and get to $100,000 a month is also lots of work. It's not easy just to scale an ad account. It's not like you just dump more money into it and then it happens, right? There's different levels in an ad account as you scale. And so the reason we don't do 5% to start like some agencies is like there's lots of work to get you from 10,000 to 100,000. As much as I'd like to give you 5%, we need to be paid for the time we're going to invest to get that scale up there. And part of that means just having a big enough fee that I don't need to take on 3 other clients to make sure I can make payroll because we charged you, basement rates.
Yeah, it's so weird to me that this is still a debate. I mean, if anyone is watching Mad Men, I don't think people understand. Like, ad agencies have always worked. Actually, it's not the same anymore. But Don Draper, you see him do the creative on the 6th floor, but they never actually sold the creative to the client. The ad agencies always own their own creative. Never sold it to the client. It was the media buying that they sold. And floors 2 to 5, all the people in little tiny cubicles in that show are actually what you're paying for. And that's actually the thing that the ad agency, that's the system that they own, is the media buying and placement. It takes all those little bunnies in the warren basically to make it work, and that's what's worth millions of dollars. But so I'm very interested in you as an ad agency. You're really focused on, yeah, you do a little bit of stuff outside, but the system. I realize like ad agencies at scale, and you're offering high value services, have built a system of some kind that they're maintaining for clients. And I was talking to you yesterday, right? And so I realized that system is in the ad platforms. You just basically set them up, the ad campaign. So first, like, which ad platforms do you live in? And then how do you maintain the trust with the client that here's a system I'm going to manage for you? You don't have to think about ads again. Like, that's really the question. Let's start with what ad platforms are you working inside?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, like most agencies, we spend most of our days both in Google and in Facebook. They own 50, 90%, whatever the stat is of the internet, depending on what stat you look at. But then we have lots of brands who are starting to spend more money in Snap and in TikTok. So we spend our time in there. And then obviously, not as big as Google. Microsoft Ads is still a powerful platform if you want to find another way to spend more money on paid search. And so really Google, Microsoft, Facebook, TikTok, Snap is where we spend a lot of our time, and we're just spending a bit more time lately in Amazon Ads with clients. And so that's where we build up systems for each of those platforms and how we're going to work. A lot of it's based on data, except for 1 or 2 clients last year. Lots of clients come to us and they've been around for a year or two, so there's data to look at Google Analytics, and that helps us figure out what we're going to build in the ad account based on what's been successful in the past and build our system. I think the challenge with paid ads is like lots of people can do it, as in the sense that lots of people can just build out campaigns. It's easy to build campaigns, but it's hard to build the right kind of campaigns, right? It's like it's easy to write a book, but it's hard to write a best-selling book, right? And we're trying to write a best-selling book versus just writing a book. We're trying to build the best campaigns versus just building any kind of campaign. And I think sometimes clients don't realize that. It's no different than engineers. You can get an engineer to build you a system, but it doesn't mean it's the right system for what you need. I think that's what's different from like just a okay marketer from a good marketer from a great marketer. The great marketer knows how to like manage and build systems, but build the right systems so you can scale up an ad account and actually make money.
I think that, having just experienced this, I don't know if you have an answer for this because I didn't ask you. Having worked with ad agencies that are, who just set up ad campaigns, not too dissimilar from what I'm setting up myself, and the ones who are quite advanced, because I obviously know a lot of ad agencies, which I'd hired some of them. There is quite a step up. And what I find is, what happens a lot in agency land is when clients decide to roll the dice and try a different agency, that their campaigns fall apart because they don't realize all the work that's in there. But I don't think a lot of ad agencies who purport to be ad agencies understand what it is that makes the best-selling, as you call it, ad campaign. I mean, if you had to summarize, what's the difference between like a really good ad strategy and just like everyone's yeoman's work? What would you say the difference would be?
Yeah, I mean, sure, there are some nuances to like account structure and how you set up an account. With both Google and Facebook moving to a world of automation, a lot of it's really trying to understand how do people search for these products or this product, right? If you understand how people search for the product, you can understand how to build out your accounts. We sometimes see accounts where someone's tried to shove, if it's Google, try to shove 100 keywords in a campaign, right? That is just wrong. And clients don't know any better. There are brands who try to have like 50 campaigns in Facebook, or they try to have like 20 interest targeted in Facebook. And so it's really starting to think about like, how do people search for products, or how do people find products on if it's paid social, and how do we show them the right ad for that intent behind the search, and then build a campaign around that. It's not as simple as like, well, even if you pick the right keywords, if you don't build the right system or the right campaign, you're not going to still see success. People often think as long as I've got the right keywords, I'll find success, but you still have to build the right campaigns and show the right ads to the right people. And I think there's that disconnect for people. And part of it's like, agencies don't do a great job of training, right? Like they're in the people business and they're selling hours, like you said. And so there's not always time to train people. And so lots of people, don't know what they don't know. And when they don't know what they don't know, they don't realize that like what I've been trained potentially is the wrong way to build stuff. It's a lot more complicated than it is. Lots of people are playing games of like checkers, but you need to be out here playing a game of chess. Chess is where it's at. Checkers is like simple and easy, but chess is very strategic in how you do and how you move down the board. But lots of people don't understand that.
So I guess there's two parts of this that I like to find out how you've solved, because you're not the cheapest agency out there, right? Because you've managed to find a high value place to be with clients. So there's two parts to that. One is, how do you get clients to trust you? Because there's a lot of mistrust between clients and agencies, as you well know. And so you've somehow solved that problem. And the second problem is delivering on that promise with getting your operating procedures under control, because you're no longer in control. You have staff, right? So you have to get them under control. So let's start with, I love to get those answers. So let's start with the first one. So how do you establish trust with clients? And maybe more interesting, from like, you started off from zero at the beginning, how did you end up building that reputation?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just being super honest. Like, I am not what you typically call a salesperson, right? My job isn't necessarily sales. I think about when I quit my job and friends came to me, it's like, hey, oh, Duane, can you help us with this thing over here, or whatever it is in our first year? I think about all the reasons friends came to me when I had a job and I was freelancing at nighttime, is they came to me because like they don't trust the agency, because the agency isn't like very transparent or potentially very honest. And so a lot of it's just being like really honest and saying like, these are your problems and these are why they're your problems. Like, I remember a phone call in I'm going to say it was in our second year. It might have been our first year. No, it was our first year. We were talking to this New York brand. They were working with an agency. And the client was like going through and telling me their problems. And not everyone knows this about Facebook. So this is one of those things where like you can prove that you're super smart and super nerdy, is like, if you're an agency or a freelancer and you make a client's ad account inside of your business manager, that ad account is logged to that business manager for life, right? You can't take that agency created ad account and move it to a client's account. But most agencies don't know that. That's one of those things where like, when you try to understand how the platforms work, you should understand how that works, because it screws over your client when your client decides to leave. And so I told the client, well, that's going to be a problem, because if they made your ad account, it's locked to the business manager. That means you either have to like give them access for life and give me access to that account and I'll run it out of there, or you have to start a new ad account and share your pixel and start from scratch over there. And that client's like, oh, I didn't realize that, and they didn't tell me that, and they don't know that. And so like showing that we know more than other people and we're super nerdy at what we do, I think is one way just to build trust. And then we're just really honest. Like, I don't have time to sugarcoat things. If you want me to hold your hand and sugarcoat it for you, we're probably not the agency for you, right? I'm just going to tell you the way things are, be real about it. The same way as like, if we make a mistake as an agency, we're just going to tell you, hey, we made a mistake, or we made a mistake. Like one year, this is 2019. I was working late and burning the midnight oil, and I thought I changed a budget to like $250 a month, $250 for the day. And I also changed the budget to $2,500 a day. And so I spent $2,500 in like a day. And this hasn't literally happened to me in a decade. I can tell you the last time I've done this for real. And I woke up the next day when I was at the airport going to a flight to see that client, ironically, and I realized, fuck, I spent a lot of money. So the first thing I did is I put on my big boy boots. I typed out an email. I apologized profusely to the client. I said, this is what happened. This is how it happened. I'm so sorry. I'll wire you money right now if that's what you want, or I'll give you a discount on our fees for the next month to cover it. So we are just honest to a fault. And sometimes people don't love that. Some people think we're too honest and don't want to go with us, which is okay. But we establish trust by being more transparent and more honest than you would expect from anyone. Because at the end of the day, we try to really treat clients' money like our own. I ask each person in the team, like, if this was your money, would you spend your money doing this thing over here? And if not, we probably shouldn't be doing it at the end of the day.
I mean, I love that because I mean, I honestly believe like this comes up every podcast, but all clients are freaking out all the time, and the reason why is they've already tried and failed internally to deal with it. They don't feel competent or capable, and they're behind schedule, and they have to trust you with their money and baby and their risk and their and they're like very tense. Even the most exuberant client, I mean, it's actually more scary actually when you have happy squirrel clients come up to you and they're just so excited and they don't have any parameters hemming them in, then I find those clients to be the worst because they don't have any measure of success, right? They'll do anything, which means that you can't control outcomes. But most clients are freaking out. I'm more interested in the sales process, just quickly. So when you're talking to a new client, how do you establish trust? We just talked yesterday, like your homepage, like no one looks at your homepage, as you mentioned. Like, it's like not that important. It's obviously the relationship between you. But are you doing like discovery, going through their accounts? Like what is your process to like get them to go, oh, okay? Because every agency is owner, not every, but so many have the same. Well, we're honest, we're easy to work with, whatever. But
They say it, but
there's a
I'm like,
process to get them to go, yeah, I can buy into this. What is it?
yeah, I mean, everybody says that, but like, I often tell people trust your gut. Like, if somebody's saying they're honest, but you don't think they're going to be honest, then trust your gut there, right? Like, everyone says lots of things, but doesn't mean it's true. I think, what we've done, especially over the last, I guess, 15, 16 months is, we really redefined our sales process in the sense that, like, people will reach out for whatever reason, through whatever channel. We have people fill out a form. So we have a Google Sheet form that asks like 20 questions so we can understand their business a little bit better. One thing I generally say on lots of calls is people are like, oh, these other agencies are going to give us a free audit. And I tell people, technically what they're doing isn't an audit. They're going to spend an hour, maybe 2 hours at max in your ad account. They're going to do a review. They'll tell you the lowest hanging fruit that they're going to change your business around. But when the low hanging fruit is gone, what are they going to do, right? Often in ad accounts, to make things scale and turn things around, you've got to do the hard work. If it was really as simple as the easy work, then you wouldn't need to hire us. And I think clients don't always realize that. Even that's another way we're honest. We're just like, we're not going to do a free review. It's pointless. Like, I can tell you the easy things to fix, but that's not going to move the needle on your business. If you want to hire us, we'll do a paid audit and I'll tell you everything you can change in your ad account. Or you can go with us for the next 3 to 6 months and see what happens. Lots of agencies want to give away lots of things for free, but you're paying us to think about your business, right? Doing an audit is very strategic. It's all about uncovering the opportunities, the potential, what levers you want to pull, and giving that away for free, which is a lot of agencies do to win business, doesn't make sense to us as a business. There's limited hours in the week, and we're not just going to give away work for free from either our team, or if we had a salesperson, we don't have a salesperson. So I think that's what we look at, is like, what do we do that other agencies don't do? And then we just be honest to a T. And, clients trust their gut, and we win, we lose, we lose. I try not to worry about it because like we're profitable right now as an agency. And so we don't need more clients, but we'll take on a client if we think it makes sense for the business.
Actually, this is something you talked about. One of the goals is that you wanted to be better at filtering clients. I mean, so you've somehow, I mean, first, are you attracting clients mostly from word of mouth? Like, how are you getting them?
Like my network of friends and people who work in the industry. There's client referrals, obviously, like lots of agencies, and then probably Reddit is our third best source of both leads and conversions across those three. And then after that, it's like sometimes Twitter, sometimes a Slack group I'm in. Sometimes maybe someone heard me on a podcast or somewhere, or they heard me 4 or 5 places and they finally reached out. But those are generally our top three, is like our network, client referrals.
Yeah, and then it's like on Reddit, you mean like you're commenting, it's like a conversations relationship sale?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in Reddit for 7 years come June, and someone said the other day it was a grind. I'm like, yeah, it actually is a grind. It's a daily operation. But because I joined a couple subreddits when there were like a couple thousand people, and now we're like 100,000, people or accounts, give or take. I've built, 30, for lack of a better word, over the years that like I know what I'm going to talk about. So when people say, hey, I want to hire somebody to do this, some people comment, you should just like hire Duane, or I'll comment and say, hey, like this is our experience. And then people will reach out. Because I think what people don't always realize is, even though lots of people don't spend time on Reddit, people know that Reddit's a great source for knowledge. So people will Google whatever their question or pain point is, and then put the word like Reddit at the end to find threads on that topic. What's your best mattress? What's the best internet provider? What's the best agency? How do agencies charge? And so the fact that I've been there for almost 7 years, you'll just see my comments come up, and then people reach out and we'll talk and stuff like that. But it is a grind. And so agency owners try to come in and do it, and they realize after a month, I can't do this. Like, I don't have the time to grind on this out, but like, I'm single, no wife, no kids, no boyfriend, no nothing. So like, I got the time to grind all day.
I'm on Reddit all the time as well, but I have all those things. Well, wife, married, 3 kids, mortgage, a startup, and a conference business. But Reddit is fun, so I like it.
Yeah, Reddit is fun. Yeah.
Actually, we met through Online Geniuses, through my Jason.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm in 5 or 6 Slack groups, which is great just to meet people, network. But yeah, that's kind of
All
where we
right,
do business
we're off
from. And then
topic.
it's just I was just gonna say it's just the we have a form on Google Sheets that people fill out, and then we look
Yeah.
at that. We try to decide like does it make sense to take on this client? Like what's their ROAS goal versus their AOV versus what they're making right now, and we try to take on clients at least already making $500,000 a year in revenue.
Mm.
We've taken on a couple clients that are from scratch, but they're from businesses we knew we could like nail and run out of the park because either we've worked on that business in the past with a competitor years ago, or there's so much opportunity in the market for what they sell. There's like there's no way we couldn't crack this if we all put our energy as a team on this.
Speaking of the intake form, so this is the second part of it. So you've somehow, and this is really interesting to me, you have some reasonable margins. Double-digit margins for an agency is pretty good. I don't want to reveal it if you don't want to. If you want to, you're welcome to. But to do that, you need to have SOPs. So, like you mentioned the intake form. How do you manage quality and the process so that your team can deliver this high value result and you're doing it while still being profitable? What is your process?
Yeah, so we used to have the Drift app on our site, and then we took it away the other day because we realized it just wasn't really doing what we wanted. People equate Drift with like Slack, where if they message us on it, we'll respond right away, and I'm like, that just doesn't make sense, especially when someone's in Europe or Asia and they message us. So someone will send us an email. Usually it's from like the business email. The odd time it'll be from like a Gmail account. We'll say, hey, thanks for reaching out. We have this like paragraph we write, like, thanks for reaching out. We have this form we ask people to fill out just to help us, make sure that we can have the right conversation on our phone call if you're a good fit. Our goal with every client is to deliver, more revenue. And we're a small agency, so we only can take on so many clients at any given time. And except for maybe three people I can think of off the top of my head, maybe there's a fourth in there I'm forgetting. Most people have been willing to fill out the form because it's asking basic questions like, what was your revenue last year? What's your goal this year for revenue? What's your CPA? What's your ROAS? What's your average order value? What channels are you on? What are you spending, in terms of ad spend? What is your, email conversion rate? How many emails you're sending out? So we can understand like what's their business email versus paid. And then people fill it out. Usually they let us know. Sometimes they don't. So I just got to periodically go check the form to make sure it's been filled out. And then as a team, if I think it's a potentially good fit, we'll talk as a team at some point during the week. And if it's on Friday when we have a team meeting, and get people's opinions on it. Do they think they can work on it? Do they think it's a good fit? What problems do they think might come up because people on the team might have different experience than I do and what they've worked on. And then if we think it's good fit, we'll reach out to the brand and say, hey, schedule a call. Let's talk for 30 minutes and see if we still want to like move things beyond that form. A lot of those questions we ask on the form, we used to ask on the first meeting, and I realized it was silly to ask it in the meeting, even though it took me 4 years to realize it, because people didn't have the answers at their fingertips. Like people don't know their AOV off the top of their head. Lots of people don't know their CPA or the ROAS goal over their head. So having them fill out the form, allow them to gather that information, and then we'd have a better conversation on the phone call of like, well, why is your goal this? Why is your profit margin only this? How can we increase your AOV? And so we have a bit more of a strategic, thoughtful conversation of like, what is their actual goal and can they get their goal based on the numbers they have, or are they willing to make changes? Because some people may like, we don't want to make changes to our site. I'm like, well, if you don't want to make changes to your site, I don't know if we can help you. A client doesn't have to take every suggestion we have. We never expect the client to take every suggestion we have, but you got to change something on your site if your numbers don't work out, right? If your ROAS is too low or if your average order value is too low, you've got to change something to make it work. And so we have a more productive conversation because we have a better understanding of their business based on the form. And then from there, it's just basically get to proposal stage and then do they want to sign it? I told someone the other day, at this point, it's like, do you want to work with us as much as we want to work with you? That's what it boils down to at this point. Like I can like do the song and dance and give you a free 2 hour account review and tell you all the low hanging fruit, but that's not going to change your business overnight. Like it's just not.
I mean, that's actually the more interesting thing to me, and try to give you a hard time about this. But like, really, the future of digital marketing is going to be digital tech marketing because they have to change the site. Like the ads go somewhere. Part of what you're offering to the clients is a strategy call you were mentioning, was providing them like advice about how to clean up the rest of the product. I mean, if you want to improve the average order value, the AOV, right? There's nothing you can do from Facebook ads, right? You have to do it from
Yeah.
the site. So how does that work, by the way? Because you're not doing it, you're getting the client to do it. But what's the process for you to give them a stream of changes? And what's the percentage they actually say yes? Because I imagine it's not 100%, but there's some cajoling.
No, it's never 100%. I always tell people on the team, we basically have a 50-50. Either they're yes, they're going to do it, or no, they're not going to do it. We don't keep track of what or how many changes a client takes on. I try to explain to the team like it's not about any one idea, it's about all your ideas put together. And so we want to be like a stream of ideas for clients. And so when it comes to AOV, obviously you can do bundling. You could do upsells, cross sells. Those are all easy ways. You could try to feature your higher price stuff, more prominently than your lower price stuff. But I would say most clients take most of our ideas. Some take longer to implement than others. There's a couple clients I have ideas that I think would do amazing for the business, but I know at the same time they tell me each time, Duane, we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it. One client sells a piece of clothing, and I told them they should take the piece of clothing and do a dog version for it, because lots of people will like buy a matching set for them and their dog, so they'll dress like their dog. And sometimes I think people do it for the cats as well, and I think this would do well for the client. But like figuring out how to take the piece of clothing and make it for a dog obviously is a very challenging thing. So that's like an idea that I think is amazing. I think it can fundamentally change the business, but the client's just not going to do it because it's lots of work. So yeah, it's not about any one idea for us though. It's about like constantly coming up with ideas. We talk about with the team, like this month, 2 people on the team have a goal to figure out how to increase the average order value for a client we have, right? And I tell them, even though the client isn't done making the changes to the website based on our ideas from 3 months ago, you want to start generating ideas today so that you're proactive when the client is ready for those ideas. You've got a list of ideas, because your first idea is probably not going to be your best idea. But if you got 2 ideas this month, an idea next month, 4 ideas in March, as you spend more time on the internet, you'll see things that you subconsciously will realize, oh, it could apply for this client or it can apply to that client, right? So you want to be generating ideas and like subconsciously looking at things online that you can apply to clients. But that's not going to happen unless you subconsciously realize that you should be working on this problem strategically for a client and not just worried about what's happening in the ad account. And I tell the team it's hard. It's hard to balance like working on the ad account and thinking about like the business and the website and how to make it better.
I mean, by the way, that's the advantage of having a very low client to staff ratio, is that you can
Yeah.
actually, have a shower thought. Otherwise, you get quite anxious when you're juggling 4 clients a month. Like it's too much to think about. You're just changing your thoughts every few minutes about which client to that. I actually worked for an agency who the CEO of that agency, he had 20 timers open, and during the call, like the team sync, he would like flip the timers as he was talking, going through bullet points from every client. And I was like, for like 38 seconds, we'd be talking about this bullet point. Like, I just can't imagine what is going on in this place. It's too chaotic. But that's not how I ended up selling more, like 2-3 clients at a time. Like, that's all I could handle, because I'm not very smart, and I can only handle that many clients at a time. For
Everyone's
me,
different. It also depends on like what the workload is, right? We have some people on our team have 5 or 6 clients, but a couple of those clients are really small, right? They're not tons of time and mental
yeah,
energy. And other clients are a lot more time and mental energy, so they'll have less clients on their team. So it's really just finding the balance between like how much work does a client actually need and want from us, and what kind of support, versus just making sure there's time in there as well to think about the client. And we try to give each client like a point system, basically. How many points do we think we need to take to service this client? And then, someone may have 4 clients because they have each client is worth more points, and someone may have 6 clients because each client is worth less points. And so we try to give everyone about 15 points worth a client is how we figure it out. And the
that's
points
very
can
interesting.
change. We take on a bigger client, then other clients' point system might drop down because that client's worth more points from like a workload perspective. And it works out. It's not easy, but like if you want to be the best at what you do, time pressure is not the worst thing in the world, because it forces you to really focus on what you need to work on.
That's interesting. Okay, so like this is the other part that I want to drill down on. So you mentioned the intake for it, but there's more internally. Like, so as you build out staff, you're still trying to maintain quality. This point system is one thing, but what else have you done internally to maintain standards? Like, what I mean, do you have standard operating procedures? Every client seems like they're a little bit different, but maybe they're a little bit same. Like, how do you manage this?
Every client is the same, but every client's also different. Every client's the same because they're all selling online, they're all e-commerce, they're all direct consumer brands, but every client's different because they operate their business differently. They have different margins, they have different AOVs, they have different websites, they sell in different countries. Some clients just sell in North America, some clients sell in North America and in Europe and APAC. And then even just like the product they sell is very different. So we used to do it until about 6 weeks ago in Google Docs, and then it would just got really a mess. Having 100-page Google Doc pros SOP or standard operating procedure doesn't make sense. So we moved over to Notion last month in February. And so everything's laid out in Notion, from how we onboard a client all the way down to how we offboard a client and everywhere in between. How do we build accounts? How do we optimize accounts? How do we troubleshoot accounts? What do we want to look out for when we set up conversion tracking. How do we set up conversion tracking? Everyone right now is talking about Google Analytics 4 because it's going to sunset Google Analytics 3 or Universal Analytics in July 1st next year. So July 1st next year, Universal Analytics will stop working. And so everyone's freaking out. So we've got procedures of like, how do we set up a client on Shopify if they want to use Google Analytics 4? And we luckily set up all our clients in Google Analytics 4 last year because I was fearful that what's happening next year would be happening this year. That Google would say, you know what, we're just going to retire Universal Analytics this year and you're all going to have to use Google Analytics 4. So like, why don't we set it up end of last year in October? So then we would also get, Q4 data, which is the most important data for any e-commerce brand. And so we've built out like really detailed, as one person team says, step by step of what we do and how we do it. And not only that, but how we think about things so that if someone has a problem and I'm out sick or on vacation, or God forbid, I get hit by a bus, someone can just go to Notion and either look up what they want and do a search of like, I need to find out like how to troubleshoot account, or I need to figure out how to build a campaign in YouTube or discovery ads, or I've got a problem with like Google's new Performance Max campaign. That's just what it is. It's just really remembering we have standard processes for everything, and the team just really relying on that. So that way I'm also not the bottleneck, because if you're always going to come to me for things and I'm not around, well, that means there's a bottleneck in the system, right? I'm trying to make it so I'm not the bottleneck for the team, but also the team has the opportunity to like take our processes and combine it with how they understand how things work, and just be able to work a bit more independently, because we have people in different parts of the world and we're not all in the same time zone.
I'm actually amazed how many agencies don't build out SOPs. This was actually one advice that I so gladly got just before I had Appline. I had my own consultancy again. I go back and forth, software to consultancy, and this time my friend Mark McLeod, he told me, write everything down, like every single step, as if you're going to hire someone else to do it. And I realized it wasn't that I necessarily was going to hire someone else to do it, but I was like 6 months later, I am someone else. I couldn't even remember what I was doing. But then by doing that, I ended up figuring out what my services were and packaged them up, and I ended up finding where the margins were. But now I realize also, and I've hired someone to run the Cloud Software Association, Lindsay, who's amazing. We had SOP. We have so many SOPs there. We've been doing that for years, just because it's been a side project for everybody. But now she's taken over, like, and running the whole thing because everything was written down. I just want to highlight that because so many people don't do it. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Agencies should definitely.
Time is because you're not getting paid to write them down, so you don't think you need
Oh, it's such
to,
a
or you should.
penny. It's like a stitch in time, right? I mean, like you're not
Yeah.
getting paid the next time you do it, right? And to learn again, but you're just wasting that time.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
mean, it's also like everyone also basically reinvents the wheel each time, right? They do stuff in the company, and which wastes even more time and money. And so, yeah, it's a good thing that agencies do. But much like training, they don't do it because they're not getting paid for it.
all right. So my last question. So, by the way, how long are your typical client engagements?
Yeah, I think like a lot of agencies, there's the low end stuff who people who kick out after 6 months because they think they can do it better, or they think they can do it themselves, or they didn't communicate something they're unhappy with. Then we have other clients who've been with us for 3, 4 years. A lot of clients who've been with us, a year and a half, 2 years, because they came to us during the course of the pandemic. And that's one of the big things we've been working on. I say we, I mean really me, figuring out how do we move more clients into the like leave us after 6 months and move into the be with us a year, 2 years, 3 years away. And so I've been working hard on that the last year. And part of that was like doing the form I did last year. And Creason just added more and more, not so much friction, but more and more systems within the retention part of our business to make it better, because it's the hardest part for any agency is retention, because there are just so many agencies out there. Clients just assume that you can like plop in one agency for another, when in reality that doesn't usually work out very well in the long run.
Well, never. I mean, that's the thing. It never works out. Like the know-how of what you've built out does not transfer from one agency to the other, and that is what is a problem. So this is my last question. Since you're in that process and you do have success of getting longer-term clients and those who are churning out, what is, in your estimation, the difference between your work towards the client that leads to the ones that stick around longer versus the ones who aren't?
Yeah, I think one thing we hit the nail on the head, and I think we struggle to figure out how to do it. I think is just communicating our results better. We have been communicating results in one way, and so finding other ways to communicate, because I think clients understand the value of our work in different ways. And so one thing we've done is we try to get clients to understand like our phone call with clients isn't to distribute information. Our phone call is to collaborate together. We use like our paid media report that has numbers to communicate numbers, but then we've also added in for the last 4 or 5 months basically what we call a monthly report. So at the start of every month, we send a client a monthly report of like, here's what we did last month, here's what we're doing this month, here's maybe insights or things we noticed in the ad account that we think are applicable to the business, and then here's like a high level overview of what happened in the account last month. And so that's the other way we're trying to communicate like the value of our work leading to the results that they're paying us for. I think that's probably the biggest reasons clients leave agencies is there's a disconnect somewhere in the communication. I think agencies have to figure out what that is and how that is. And part of that also relates to like, how much do you charge? If you charge bottom basement rates, clients will probably stick with you, even if results aren't great, because you charge them so little, right? If you charge them way more than us, then clients are going to have lots of expectations. Even if you charge them what we charge them, clients are still going to have some level of expectation. So connecting your communication to like the results you're given based on the fees you're charging is really important, because clients, don't view those things necessarily in a vacuum.
But what I've experienced is actually the lower you charge, the quicker the clients will churn through you, because for them, there's no cost to flipping through agency after agency after agency if they're going to pay low rates. So you're meaningless to them, right? You have no value.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends on what you charge, right? Yeah, if you're charging $1,000 a month, yeah, clients will.
And they're expecting results immediately, and then they don't like it, they'll just go to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Those are the worst clients. Those are like the worst of the worst clients. Those are like sub bottom basement pricing clients that we would just never take on. Who think, oh, we'd only pay an agency $500 a month or $1,000 a month. As an agency, you can't make money on that, and that's a volume game that just sounds exhausted.
Yeah. And then the other part of it is like what you're saying. And I just come to realize this is like clients actually don't care about the work that you're doing per se. They don't care about the targeting. They don't care about creative. What they care about is seeing that this business anxiety has gone away and it's under control. And so what you're saying is report clearly your results. Are any of the clients who leave you after 6 months the ones that you think you would have succeeded on, or were they all like you couldn't figure it out? That's another thing. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes some people leave because we're not able to crack it. I'll tell clients, hey, if we can't crack it in 3 months or 6 months or whatever it is, then you should leave. Because if we can't crack it in 3 to 6 months, we're probably never going to crack it. But there are other clients who leave because I think we just weren't as good at communicating the value we're delivering because things were working out, and it's unfortunate. And then we have some clients who leave who just, I don't want to say they're crazy, but some clients are crazy.
All clients are crazy. I mean, everyone's crazy. All humans are crazy. Clients often also internally staff eventually, and then that's it. Like once they hired internally, then they're gonna get rid of the agency. It's a very common scenario. So they use agencies until they hire. I mean, I don't know if that happens to you, but it must happen.
A couple times. But I mean, we tell a lot of clients too, like, if it comes to the point that you want to hire someone, we'll help you interview someone and vet someone that they can do it. Because oftentimes clients are going from agency to agency because they don't know how to hire for that role, right? It's like me trying to hire an engineer. I can't hire an engineer because I don't know how to do the job. So I don't know the right questions to ask to make sure I'm hiring someone who can do the job. And so over the years, we helped a couple clients hire someone. One person's been there over 2 years now. And so I'm like, if you're going to fire us or let us go, I'm fine with that. But let us help you hire the best person possible you can afford, so you can have someone who can actually do the job, so that you're not freaking out again when you take it in-house.
This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Duane. Any last thoughts about how people can reach you?
Yeah, I mean, outside of our conversation about Reddit, where I spend a lot of time there, I mostly spend a lot of time.
Hope it's not DM me, or I don't want any of those. What's your I'm not anonymous again.
No. I mean, I do our industry salary survey, so I'm definitely not anonymous on Reddit, which is fine. But my handle is just Fathom53. I mostly spend most of my time in the PPC subthread for Reddit. But other than that, I spend a lot of time on just Twitter, so just Duane Brown on Twitter. Those are probably the two places I spend a lot of time on if I'm not in like a Slack group somewhere. So Online Genius Slack group. There's a D2C fam Slack group. PPC subthread Reddit has a Slack group that I spend time in as well. Those are probably the places Slack group wise I spend most of my time. And then on weekends, I try not to open my phone and be online as much as I can, because we do so much of it during the week. And obviously, that's easier said than done some days.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.